welcome to God's 5 Minutes with Pastor Ed Wilson. Reach him at gods5minutes@gmail.com. Now, here's Ed Wilson with God's 5 Minutes.
Hello, friends. The 3 short verses of David's 131st Psalm read, Lord, my heart is not haughty, nor mine eyes lofty. Neither do I exercise myself in great matters, nor in things too high for me. Surely I have behaved and quieted myself as a child that is weaned of his mother. My soul is even as a weaned child. Let Israel hope in the Lord from henceforth and forever. My heart is not haughty, nor mine eyes lofty. What a remarkable thing for a king to say, especially during a time when kings exercised almost limitless authority over their subjects. Wealth lay at David's fingertips. By a word he could elevate any friend, quash the hopes of any foe. Armies moved at his command. The English historian Lord Acton, after years of extensive study, famously wrote, "Power tends to corrupt, and absolute power corrupts absolutely. Great men are almost always bad men." So what enabled David to claim a grace of God more lofty than nearly all who had come before him or those who had followed? Well, for one thing, God had prepared him for his role in life. If ever a man were to be an exception, it should have been David. He had felt firsthand the evils of despotism, beneath Saul's cruelties and abuses of power. He had known the horror of being a malign fugitive among his own people, and seen the battlefield death of his dearest friend Jonathan, who lost his life by the swords of foes who could never have touched him, had Saul not forgotten God's words to him, when thou wast little in thine own sight, wast thou not made the head of the tribes of Israel? Besides that training, David was a man with an excellent spirit. His walk with God from his earliest life had planted within him a native sweetness and sense of self-denial that appealed to all who knew him. The first years of his rule as Israel's king were a model for all the world's rulers that has lasted to this day. The second phrase in the verse speaks of lofty eyes. Among other courtesies of a royal court, it was common in the days of monarchies for those who served royalty to be forbidden ever to so much as look the king in the eye. Those who came into the king's or queen's presence were to look at the floor, while the ruler held his high and leveled disdainful glances at his obsequious servants. It's easy to understand how such masters came to consider themselves as God, as many of David's era did. How refreshing to find a king who wants none of that, who can stand worshipfully in God's presence and tell him, my eyes are not lofty. Those who fill places in my palace and in administration are my friends. Their cares are my cares, and I am interested in governing so as to bring them happiness. Haughty hearts and lofty eyes are the breeding ground of envy and jealousy. Many a war has been fought, many an army sacrificed, because a proud ruler could not bear to see the ruler of a neighboring country have a more splendid place to live, more acres of land, more people. James advised us, whence come wars and fightings among you? Come they not hence, even your own lusts that war in your members? Rare indeed is the president or prime minister who can survey his realm and contentedly say, God has given me this, and it is enough. I and my people are satisfied. Just as for David, there are things too high and too great for us, and we are wise not to allow ourselves to be spun off into dark corners of belief and ideation, where our only guiding light is our own reasonings. There are matters concerning which we have insufficient information to form rational conclusions. The Bible, for instance, nowhere definitively tells us where the devil came from. Was he pre-existent with God? Or in another direction, when exactly will Jesus' second coming be? And what will be the details? Nobody knows. Speculating about that and similar mysteries amounts to nothing more than blowing bubbles with our imagination. It is enough, as David learned, to be satisfied with our own personal daily experience and leave great things in his hand. Have you talked to him today?
You have been listening to God's 5 Minutes with Pastor Ed Wilson. Reach him by email at godsfiveminutes@gmail.com. Tune in next time to hear more encouraging thoughts from God's Word on God's 5 Minutes with Pastor Ed Wilson.